My guest today is Cathy Nesbitt, and Cathy has a couple of things that she's going to be talking about, at least a couple. Cathy is a fascinating person. We were just talking about the fact that she does not have a cell phone. Oh, right? She said it's kind of fun because once they start breathing again, then she can talk about why and why it's not necessary and stuff like that. But just a little quick little icebreaker there. Cathy, thank you so much for joining me today.
Amy, I'm so excited to be on Grounded in Maine. It's like it was a podcast made for what I'm doing.
Totally, totally. And so there are two big things that you like to talk about. You've got Cathy's crawly composters. And you said this is 22 years? You've been doing this for that's crazy.
Yeah, the 22nd anniversary of Cathy's Curly Composters. Whenever I say it, I'm just like, wow, where did the time go? How did that happen?
Oh.
Oh, I'm thrilled. I just, when you find your way and you're on purpose, every day is like a new day and you just get to, and I wish that for everybody to find your way so you can have this magic life. You're making a difference, whatever it is, you're making money, hopefully. And just, no, I wouldn't say sailing through life. Was it always easy? 22 years? No, at the beginning, the worms ate better than we did.
Right?
And they eat rotting food and manure. Ooh, okay, that's a nice visual to start.
Oh my gosh. I actually just fed my worms this morning and I was like, yeah, they got all my old spinach and
Mm,
and the
yeah, the worm buffet.
yeah, the worm buffet. So tell us about Cathy's crawly composters.
Yes, so 2002, I'm located in Canada, and the landfill for the Greater Toronto Area closed in 2002. And Canada's a pretty large country, second largest in the world, and we couldn't find a place to site a new landfill. There's a thing called NIMBYism, uh, not in my backyard.
Oh
And so if there's a strong enough lobby, if there's enough people opposing something, that thing's not happening there. And
gosh.
that's why we need community engagement, because otherwise things happen and we're not even aware. Like, new roads get put in, or new houses, or a new development. They chop down the forest because we weren't paying attention. So we really need to be engaged. Whatever we think about politics and whatever we think about it, we need to be engaged because we're part of it. We're
Mm.
part of community. So 2002, our landfill closed and we started to export our garbage to the United States. Yikes. Almost 1,000 trucks a week were making the way from Toronto to Michigan.
Oh
Like,
gosh. A
wow. And I had a solution. And so I don't want to leave people down there. So many people are unaware because we don't know what happens to when the garbage truck comes. Where does it go? We don't know
right.
unless we do know. And I know. We only know what we know, and there's so many things to know. So I had a solution. Indoor composting, I know people that listen to your regular listeners know about or have heard you speak about vermicomposting. Toronto, 6 million people in the greater Toronto area, half live in condos, townhouses,
Right.
places without space to do composting. So this is a solution for them. And I love when people say, "Oh, I live in an apartment. I can't compost." It's like, "Oh, no, this is for you." Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Right?
And it's not for everybody. This is definitely not for everybody, but I came up with an expression, without awareness, action is impossible. And it had to do with my business. If you don't know that you can do composting in the house with worms, you're not doing it.
Right. Yeah.
And so, I get calls from people, again, back to the apartment dwellers, and maybe they've just downsized. They've lived in a house, they composted, they had a garden, and now they call me up and they're like, "Oh, I feel guilty. I moved to an apartment and there's just that chute for the garbage. And I feel guilty every time I'm putting the garbage in
Mm.
there, like, oh, I feel bad." And I say, good. And I say good because when we're feeling frustrated, that's when we take change. If we're sailing along, everything's fine, we put the garbage in, we don't care, we don't think about it,
Right.
nothing's going to change. But when we think about it, we feel, uh-oh, this is wrong, or this is making me feel a way, then we're going to look for a solution. And if we don't, there's a thing in psychology called cognitive dissonance.
Mm,
And it's when we're going against ourselves, like we're feeling like, oh, this isn't right, but I'm doing it anyway. So if you continue to do it anyway and still think, uh-oh, then sickness is coming.
right. Ooh, yes. Ooh, I love that. And yeah, I mean, I just, and they're also sort of to that idea is, for me, I say a lot, I can't unsee this. Like once they learn about
Mm.
vermicomposting, you can't not know that. Whether you do it or not, it's not because you don't know. Then but I think it's such a great way to dispose of waste food or extra food or whatever. Mine love the pasta.
Right?
Everyone loves pasta. My, my chickens, oh my gosh. Like a lot of people say, your chickens will eat all your scraps. I'm like, no. Like they don't do carrots and celery and lettuce and stuff. They like give me the carbs. I love the carbs. But they do like cucumbers and tomatoes and sometimes berries, but not for too long. Like during strawberry season, I give them a lot of scraps and they're like, yeah, we've had this. We've had this. Can we get some cereal?
They love worms too.
Yes. Yes.
There is a pecking order. I looked after chickens. We were house sitting, my husband and I, and they had chickens. And I thought, oh, I'm going to bring the chickens. I'm going to bring the girls some of my worms. And won't that be great? So I think there were 6 or 7 chickens. So I brought the right amount of worms, one for each.
Hmm.
And I didn't realize that it's not like, oh, okay,
Right.
Sally, you've
What's for
had
everyone?
yours.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it's like, no, the top chicken is going to
Yep.
get all the worms
Totally.
if you allow it.
Yes. Yeah. If I'm doing like little bread treats, I have to like crumble up the bread really, really tiny and then just like throw it all out at once so that they're scattered. Because otherwise, if I'm like, okay, one for you, someone's going to walk up and take it out of their mouth.
Mm.
Like, I need that more. I'm bigger or whatever. Yeah.
The pecking order.
Yeah. And they're so funny because I do dried mealworms because I don't have a mealworm set up yet, but dry mealworms and I'll just like toss them out and I have 3 tiny roosters. They're like, 2-ish pounds each and they're smaller than all the hens.
Wow.
I toss the worms out and they go crazy. Like the hens are just like, I'm gonna take them all, and the boys are just like walking around. There's just like talking. Like you're so goofy. You're missing out on the food, but that's how they are with treats. It's so funny. Like I don't know if they're giving the girls the chance to eat first because they're polite. I don't think they're really polite. Um, or they just don't know what to do. I don't know. They're just so funny. It's a trip, but
Oh, fun.
but worms.
Back to worms.
And so do you like offer setups or do you do training in setting up for worms? Is that how that works?
Yeah, so I started in '02, and I didn't have any business knowledge. I was an office worker, and then I was a social worker once I got my psych degree. And so I didn't know anything about running a business. I didn't have anyone in my circle, my family. I just had a solution and knew that I had to jump forth. So I got injured at work, and then I came home from work and there was an ad in the paper and it said, "Are you a woman? Do you have a business idea?" And it was a 6-month course to write a business plan.
Oh,
Right. So I was like, okay. So I took that course, started my business, and I would have a display wherever I could. I'd set up a table just to educate people. And learned quickly on that people don't buy what they need, they buy what they want. And they didn't, if there's a couple, one might be, yeah, worms. The other one's like, yeah, no way, not inside.
right.
Right. So battling that. And I think worm is a bad word, like can of worms. I'm trying to change that. Like when I hear can of worms, I'm like, yay, can of worms.
Woo!
Oh, sorry, I know it's a bad thing. Or earworm, like you get that song in your head. I'm trying to change that. Earworm, yay, good. That's a good song. Computer viruses are often worms. Like just parasites are just worm is a bad word. So, and I think that people might have been traumatized as children in the schoolyard after a rainy day, chased around by a worm, by someone with a worm, not chased by a worm. That's an image, eh? Uh, or a fishing incident, the green goo, something that they got traumatized. So if you were traumatized as a child, you're not looking to that as an adult. So I needed to change. If I wanted to do this, and my goal was worms in every living space, every apartment, every home, every classroom, not just one in a school as a project.
Mhm.
Every business, every community, worms everywhere, like the recycling bin.
Yeah.
Still not there, but
I
um,
That's such a
yeah,
great idea to do it in schools.
yeah. So I started to do school workshops. Over 75,000 students have seen my presentation. And it's still 22 years in, it's still my favorite thing. Going in, grade 3 is perfect. In Canada, grade 3, it's soils. So they're learning about soils. And grade 4 is habitat. So it fits both for those, but it fits every grade. And I do from kindergarten up to university. And I joke that it's the same presentation like for the kindies and the university students. I just add more detail, like more information about the beauty of these worms, like how they are going to play an ever increasing role:
Right.
waste management, soil production, food security. For the kindies, it's like, oh, worms, yay, woo. And they
Right.
set up the bedding, right? They hold them, how fun, great.
Right.
Although like people are like, well, do the worms like to be held? No, probably not. But when we get attached to something, when we have held something and we're like, wow, and when we're in awe of it, that's when we want to protect it.
Mhm.
And I talk about the forest. Like if you've never been to the forest, you live in New York or you live in Toronto and you've never even been to where there's trees, like, that's concrete jungle everywhere. What do you care if they cut down the forest?
Right.
It's the oxygen. Of course, it matters, but if you've never been, you're not going to stand up and protect it because you don't even know what it is. That's my goal with the worms.
Mm, that's so great. I mean, and yeah, the folks in university are gonna need a little bit more selling, right? They need to understand why. The kids aren't gonna care. They're just gonna be like, "Ooh, cool, let me touch it." Right? Um,
Yeah.
but man, I just as you were talking, I was like, man, schools should have worm bins or compost bins or something. And I know that a lot of places will like send their food waste to like farmers or whatever, but what if they're not? Wouldn't it be cool if I'm so on this whole every school should have a garden,
Mm.
for kids to understand where their food comes from, to be part of that. And just like you were saying with the worms, like if you can touch it, if you're caring for it, you will understand and appreciate that. Um, and I think that and then there's the whole like having local food available.
Right. There's so many things. Like the worms are a beautiful vehicle. If we, I say to the children, if we, and this is going to sound funny, but if we ate like worms, we would poop like worms and we wouldn't be spending time sitting around in there like reading. There would be no time for reading because we'd be in and out and then we could get on with our life. And I'm not suggesting that we eat rotting food and paper, but if we get the good nutrients in our body, then our body's going to function properly. Yeah, I think there's so many lessons that the worms are giving us. They don't have any structure. They're totally dependent on each other in the system and all the microorganisms. It's a beautiful thing, and they're reviled at the same time.
Right.
So here they're creepy, they're over here, and we need to change our mind because we're all about convenience now, like putting the garbage out at the curb. What if we just managed our stuff better and we call it a resource? As soon as we call something garbage, we want to throw it away. And there's no away, by the way.
Right.
We are away. We're the environment. As soon as we can figure this out, eh, there will be a big shift because we will be managing our scraps on site so we can make a little bit of soil which is nutrient rich. We won't have to spray all these chemicals because the soil will contain what it needs to grow that plant.
Right.
Nature didn't have any chemicals before us.
Right.
It's just now we're doing it, especially in North America, we're doing monocropping, corn, wheat, and soy, acres and acres. So one little pest comes in, now we need a more resilient drug,
Right.
chemical.
Right.
So yes, the chemical engineers are super smart. They're doing a great job. It's harmful. We really need to go back. So that's what I say is food security, waste management, first of all, which is why I started my business. In 2002, when I started, I had so many gardeners coming to me. They might not have wanted to do the process. They might not have wanted to do the worms, but they definitely wanted the worm poo. They wanted the black gold.
That's okay too.
Yeah, right. It is. And people would say to me, "Oh, I bought some worm castings at Home Depot."
Uh, It's
Uh,
hydrated and what?
okay, that's fine. Buyer beware. I don't know about in the States, but in Canada, the compost industry is not regulated. You could have anything in that bag.
Right.
And if it's sealed in a plastic bag, and if it's sealed, it's living soil. Now it's dead. Now there's no oxygen in there, or it's totally dehydrated. So again, no life, or it's treated. Even worse, it's compost. So it started out as something wonderful, and then we destroy it, we treat it, and we do all this stuff. So because we don't want
Right.
whatever. So I think by making our own, we know what's in it.
Yep.
We're not trucking it around because that's you said about schools, some are sending the stuff to farms, which is that's fine if it's going somewhere, but it still needs to be trucked. So we're still using fossil fuels and the emissions and all that stuff. I really think we need to shift the whole system on its head, and I don't know how that's going to happen. We need to remain hopeful as well. The solutions are here.
Yep. I'm totally with you. I mean, if everyone can just grow something, and I see the posts often about like, if everybody focused on one thing and everyone shared, like we could all eat well, and it doesn't have to be trucked from California or, 3,000 miles away or whatever, because we're taking care of each other. And that's also part of my community sufficiency note behind my computer as well. Just like take care of each other and not just like it's me against the world. It's just
Right, we're community. We do need community. Like again, back to the worms. They're like they're the top predator in the worm bin. They're not like people are like, "Oh, the worms. I don't want any other bugs." It's like, well, you can't do it then because it's all bugs. It's all bacteria, springtail mites, all these things that were like, get the spray. It's like, no, put the spray away. Leave it at the store. Don't even buy it because you're wasting your money. You're killing yourself. Like you're spraying that in your house. Now you're breathing that in. The challenge with all of these things is they're invisible, especially chemicals. We don't even know. And now I don't know again about the States, but we're putting in 5G infrastructure all over the place. And the towers are so tall. They're ugly, first of all. They're emitting all of that Wi-Fi stuff that we have no idea how we're being microwaved.
right. Yes. Yeah. I mean, and who was I was just talking to somebody and they were like, make sure to shut your phone off or like have it in a different room at night. And I know you don't have that problem, but like I use my cell phone as my alarm clock.
Mhm.
And so I need to remember to at least turn off the Wi-Fi so that I'm not getting that. Um, but there's so many things. Like I just did this, just very randomly and probably a little too much information, but I'm speaking with a functional medicine person
Mm.
and shout out Claudine. And so I sent in a hair sample to just find out about minerals and stuff because she said that you can actually learn a lot from the last 90 days of hair growth. And my hair test just came back last week, and um, I have a lot of uranium in my hair body. I don't know. I haven't, I don't know everything about it, but I'm like, uranium, where am I getting uranium? So just, who knows? But we don't need to take that in. We just need to work on good stuff and then work on getting the bad stuff out. But you just like you said, it's invisible. You don't know. I Who knows how long I've had it in me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, for because there are so many issues, it's easy for people to say, like, I don't have time to take on another project. It's overwhelming. What can I do? One little person. And what I encourage people is to find something that you're passionate about and champion that. Like for me, it's food waste. That's why I started. I wanted to manage the food waste. Then it transformed into, oh my gosh, it's the black gold that is really the valuable piece. The waste management, although it's huge, is kind of the side benefit.
Right.
The black gold is the important piece. And then the food security, because in Canada, we import 60% of our food, 60. So when everything's fine, it's fine. Oh, we're just like the grocery stores are stocked, everything's wonderful.
Right.
And then 2020,
Right.
we know everything shut down. We couldn't come or go. For sure, our fruit and vegetables weren't coming and going. And we found out pretty quick. 2020 was the busiest year for my worm business. It
That's
was so busy.
good for you.
Because our schools were closed, so the parents were homeschooling, and maybe they're trying to run a business or do their job from home. Everyone's at home, so everyone's super stressed because the world is falling apart. We didn't know. It was really unknown. Remember in 2020, March of 2020, scary times.
Very well.
And yeah, so I think what happened, my phone started ringing. Okay, we need a worm bin. Okay, good. And then we ran out of worms. And when we run out, we import from the States, so we couldn't import any more worms. And people would call me and they'd say, oh, I've been wanting to do this for 5 years and now I have time and da-da-do. And they'd tell their little story. Then I'd say, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I don't have any worms right now. I can put you on the list. And they get mad. What's going on? I don't know. It's like, oh, we have this thing going on, this thing.
Everything's at a standstill. Yeah.
Yeah, so I found at the beginning of the cuckoo time, people were coming together. They were helping each other. We were, clanging pots. We were clapping for the workers, and we were supporting each other. And then as it went on too long, then we started to get angry again. Now we're like, what about me? I got to get out of my house, and I don't like my spouse anymore. And so now I feel like, 2 years locked down, we forgot how to be civil.
Mm-hmm.
We forgot how to make eye contact and just realize that somebody else could really be struggling. And now you've gone and yelled at them, like maybe the clerk at the store, like you're having a bad day, so just take it out on the clerk because they're taking too long or something. And it's like, man, maybe they're having a bad day too. And what if we could just be compassionate and say, man, are you okay? Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm super sensitive and I'm very aware of the other. I'm
Mm-hmm.
very aware when I'm out and about. Again, because I don't have a cell phone, I'm always looking, I can see. And we make a big difference. We can just smile at somebody or just whoever they are. We can just, say, hey, how's it going? I see you there. Because we all want to be seen.
Right. I don't think that's a bad thing, Kathy, if you're sensitive.
I don't either.
I think
It's a superpower. I'm 61 now, and I remember as a young girl, crying all the time and being told to suck it up. The world's a harsh place. Grow a thicker skin. Like how do you do that? I wonder how you grow thicker skin. I don't know. What am I, an elephant? But they're
right.
sensitive too.
Right.
And I realized that when you're super sensitive as a young person, you have no idea because you're taking on everything from everybody. And I wish that they taught how to manage that. I imagine it's coming because we are becoming more aware. As you get older, it becomes a superpower because you can feel other people. You know when someone's lying to you, so that's a gift. And I was doing a workshop at a school, a young girl, maybe grade 3, and she came up to me after and she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm super sensitive, or I'm really sensitive." And I said, "Thank you for saying that." And I said, "Please never say that again." And I said, "Here's why." I said, "What does it mean to be sensitive? That you care, right? What does it mean to be super sensitive? You care a lot. That's right.
Never
So
stop.
imagine, right? Imagine if everybody cared too much. What a wonderful world."
Right. Hmm. Yeah. That's beautiful. Oh my gosh. And so let's see, getting back to worms. I just want to make sure that that um yeah, we get all the worm talk in. But I think that's beautiful, really. I mean, I have a little bit of that, not a lot. I think, I mean, maybe I have a lot. I don't know. But I totally, when I'm at the store, I'm always smiling at people and saying thank you and, how are you doing today and whatever. I think, having been on the other side, growing up, we all worked at, smaller places or grocery stores or hotels or whatever, and we've dealt with the people that were grumpy. Like, who needs that? And so, having been on that side, you're extra kind, I think. But um that's beautiful though. I mean, that you got to help that girl to realize that gift that she has. But then, so worms, okay, so worm bins. Do you How are you for worms now? Are you set for
Yeah, we're fine for now. Yep, we've got worms all as well.
and do you put together bins, or do you how does your business work? Is it mainly teaching?
Yes, I would say it is. I did have a beautiful system that was made in Ontario. It was called the Living Composter. It looked like a stool. It was a stool. You could sit on it. Came in four assorted colors. It was beautiful system. And I was the Canadian distributor. And then they made a cheaper version, cheaper quality and cheaper price to compete online. And during the pandemic, I think it was 2020 or yeah, I think it was 2020, I called to get another order. And they said because of staffing issues and all of the things, they're just they have to change their machinery to make this better product. Um, and they're selling so many of the cheaper one, they wouldn't be, so it's out of production. And I said, I'm not, no, they sent me one of the cheaper ones. I'm like, no, it looks like a stool, but if you sit on that, you're going to break it. Right, or I don't know, it
And
just
then you're
looked
gonna have
cheap.
worms everywhere.
Right, and yeah, so I just said, no, I'm not, and I can't compete with Amazon's free shipping. I refuse to,
Yeah.
lose money just for my cost. So yeah, so education is a big part of what I do, speaking. And it's such a gift. I have tremendous respect for teachers because they're impacting those young minds every day. And it's huge. It really matters that if teach the good teachers, that is the ones
Right.
that love their job, they got into it because they wanted to affect the future and all of that. Sometimes they've been in it too long and then they get jaded because the system is pretty broken.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Right.
what I was saying is, well, what I was thinking when you were saying that is it's such an important responsibility, and you have that opportunity to change lives and thinking and stuff like that. So if you're like jaded, you're gonna pass that on to these kids. And if you're passionate about it, you're gonna pass that on to these kids.
Right, about life. And I've
Yeah.
had the privilege. We make a difference every day. We do. Wherever we go, we're affecting people. But we don't always know the impact we've had. I know that I've had that impact because more than once I've been at events exhibiting and people will come up because I have a shirt that says Kathy's Crawley, so everyone knows who I am. Like everyone, that not everyone, but in the industry, everyone. I'm famous. No, I'm not. This young man came up to me at an event and he said, "Oh, Kathy, you came into my grade 3 class, and because we had worms in the class, I took environmental studies at university, and now I'm going to be an environmental lawyer. So now advocating for the planet."
Wow.
Wow. Wow. Right? So we're making an impact. So just, keep doing the impact that you're doing because it matters. It
Mhm.
matters. And when we lift each other up, like one candle takes away the darkness, but 20 candles, wow, it's super bright now.
Right. Oh my goodness. That's so cool. Whew. I When I got my worm bin, it was like my fourth or fifth time going to a worm demonstration.
Yes.
Because I was like, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Like, I know I don't feel like I'm ready. And I had been at the Common Ground Fair in Maine, a couple times. I think I'd been to a worm talk a couple of times, and I was like, ooh, maybe one more I will feel brave enough to put it together and get that. And then I went to one at my library, and the guy he gave them away. He gave the whole bin away with
Wow.
and I was like, oh crap. Now I have worms. Like I wasn't walking in there expecting that. But then I ended up leaving with worms, and I now it's 6 years. Um,
Wow.
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's what, when I started my business, I said it's about a 3-year sales cycle. Like from when people are introduced and they're like, oh, this is interesting. Yeah, no. And then because I would see people the following year at the same event, like in an eco event or something, and they'd come up, oh yeah, I'm still thinking about you from last year. I'm like, I know, I'll see you in a couple of years and you'll be ready. Like for $100
Yeah.
purchase, it's like, and I don't have repeat customers.
Yes.
Right. So I got to be really not intentional, but that's why I had to ebb and flow and start doing workshops because I was like, oh, if they don't know about it, then I need to create the market.
Right. But oh gosh, I mean, I just think that doing school talks must be just so impactful, and hopefully, a lot of those kids will take that on. But it would be really cool if the school did.
Yeah, some do, sometimes the school will have me in, I do the workshop and they don't even set up a worm bin. And that's the fun because the students set up the bedding during the thing. So, you get everyone involved, which they all want to be involved in the younger grades. And then the grand finale is holding worms and I show worm eggs and it's just it's a riot.
And then
And when the worms come out, of course they're squealing and it's really loud and it's fine. Like some teachers get very controlling and you know and they shout and stuff and I'm like, cowering in the back with like the behind the teacher going, it's
right.
fine.
All right. Sorry, it was fun.
Well, what I say after the teacher has yelled at them for being so loud and disrespectful, I'm like, thank you for your excitement. I'm so happy that I'm excited too. And I say, don't I have the coolest job?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think I had a thought with that. Oh, say it's for me, it was sort of like I'm taking on these live beings and I don't want to do it wrong. And so I want to be prepared, which is why I came back year after year. But so, I was clearly ready. It was like, I don't know. I didn't know how it fit in my world, I guess. And then,
I think there's all kinds of thoughts that go in our head, like we're putting rotting food. Is it going to smell? No, it's aerobic process, meaning with oxygen. So if it's worms breathe through their skin, but they breathe oxygen like we do.
Mhm.
So if it smells bad, it's not oxygen. And that's one of my things when I go into the class. I have a picture of a pound of worms.
Mhm.
So, and it's a big picture, like a poster size,
Of
which
course.
is really freaky. I hold it, and I go, don't worry, these are my hands. So, and then I'll say the worms eat once they're established, about half their weight per day in food scraps. So I have a bag of like the large freezer Ziploc bags, kind of full of food, and I generally will put it a couple days before my workshop, and I double bag it because the single bag is porous still. When it's double bag, it's sealed, and as the food breaks down, so I squish out all the oxygen, and then in 2 or 3 days, it's blown up like a balloon.
Oh.
So I hold up this bag gingerly, hoping that it doesn't pop open, and I say, this is what a pound of worms can eat in a week. So it's kind of impressive. And then I say, what's in this bag?
Mm.
And they say air. So I say, okay, good. If I open it, will it smell like the room? And then they go, no. So they know. And I say, good. Is it air in the bag? So there's all kinds of ways to incorporate the lesson.
Mhm.
Like it's chemistry, it's math, it's English. You could write stories and poems and songs. There's so many, it fits into every subject.
Right. Oh gosh. And then so what is included? What do you recommend, just to so that people can get interested in this and say, "Oh, I could totally do that." What do you use for your worm bins?
You can use anything. There are nice systems, tower composters, but the system doesn't take away the need to create the environment.
Right.
So the worms require a carbon nitrogen mix. The carbon could be leaves, straw, cardboard, drink trays, egg cartons, any of your paper products that aren't, waxy or anything. Cut them up. And then you need a little bit of soil, just outdoor garden soil, not potting soil, not something in a bag because it's sterilized. You're adding it for the bugs and the grit. 6 to 8 crushed eggshells and water. So that's your main thing. And your bin can be a Rubbermaid tote or any kind of plastic bin that you have. You don't need a lid. I used to think that the lid was a psychological barrier, but the lid keeps it dark. So if you don't have a lid, you got to,
Put it under cover.
yeah, you need to put it under cover. So temperature, moisture, airflow are the three key elements. Temperature, room temperature, 60 to 80 degrees is perfect. 16 to 28 Celsius. I'm bilingual. Moisture, about 70% humidity. You don't need a moisture meter. You don't need a thermometer. If you're comfortable temperature wise, the worms are. Moisture, you just feel if it's wet. If it's not wet, add more water. And airflow. So you need to have holes. You can't have a sealed Rubbermaid container. Your worms will die.
Right.
You need to have holes. And if you're going to put your bin outside ever, I would suggest not putting holes in the top, but around the top edge of the bin.
Mm.
So then if you put it outside and it rains, your worms don't drown.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Now,
smart.
putting it outside, it can be outside in, the climates that have severe cold weather, spring, summer, and fall. Ideally indoor year round, because it's the temperature change that the worms don't really like. In the summer, it might be too hot during the day and then cool down at night. It's that change in temperature.
Right.
Where inside, it's usually around the same temperature.
Okay. Cool. I mean, I don't have soil in mine. I wonder.
Did
I,
you add soil maybe at the beginning? Because you only need to do it at the beginning.
no, it was newspaper, just newspaper.
Oh, yeah, because the soil adds the microorganisms. It just takes longer if you don't have this soil in there for them to get established.
I guess I should do that. Um, Interesting. Well, there, I learned something new about worms. That's awesome. I love that. And it's see you guys, it's not that big of a deal. It's not like this huge thing. It's just, you can use a Rubbermaid tote and some newspaper, some cardboard, some soil, some water, some eggshells.
And we all eat, Amy, we all eat. So this is something, and food waste is one of like a residential food waste is one of the top contributors. Well, food waste in general, but residential contributes a lot
Mhm.
to climate change. So imagine if we manage that on site, we're not contributing, we're doing our part, then we can make a little soil, we can grow some food. Even if you live in a condo or you don't have land, you can have lettuce growing in a pot. You can have some herbs growing. You can have something growing, and when we grow it, we don't want to waste it. We spent time, we watered it, we weeded it, we talked to it maybe, I don't know.
Right. Well, and
You
know
know,
also that when you're growing, I'm not telling you, Kathy, you know this, but like if you're growing foods with the worm compost, the worm castings, exponential growth. Like it's so healthy. The food is going to be so healthy and it's going to be probably bigger than you're used to.
right? It's pure plant food. So when you put that castings in, the castings and the roots have this symbiotic relationship where they keep it. When we have healthy soil, the pathogens are always present. And I tell the students, it's like if we have and it's so great after 2020, if we have a strong immune system, if somebody sneezes next door to us, beside us, we might not get it or we'll get it less because we have this strong immune system. Same in the soil. If the soil is healthy, the pathogens are there. They might be like, oh, look at that juicy root. But then, oh, they can't get in there because they have this like fort around them.
Mm.
And that's what I'm suggesting that we do for our body. That's what I'm saying. If we ate like worms, then we'd be super healthy and we'd
Right.
be moving around because we'd have energy.
Right.
We gotta move. That's one thing. We're a very sedentary society. So Moving is really important. Eating well, drinking water, and movement, the three things that we really need.
Yeah. And so if you put the worm castings in your soil, the soil will be healthy, which will create a healthier and stronger plant, and the plants will feed us better. We're getting more nutrients out of the food. So it's a win-win-win-win-win situation, and it literally costs you nothing because it's just food waste.
It's closing the loop. It's like the infinity sign, which is a figure eight on its side, right? We eat the food, we give the scraps to the worms eat it, turn it into soil, we grow more food, and it's not trucked around, and we feel good.
Yeah,
And when we're gardening and growing food, we're not on our technology because it would get dirty, it would short or whatever. Right? So we're totally present. I think it slows us right down. We're out in nature. If we happen to have luck that we have a little bit of a space like a little garden, or even a raised bed or anything, just some way to grow food. And it's such a wonderful education for children, like in the house, to see the parents, managing the scraps on site, so they know, oh, the banana peel, it just goes in the worm bin. Beautiful. And then, oh, the worms. So the kids love it. I've had teachers say to me, this is a great idea, but I'm afraid of worms. What do I do? So I say, you get this, you do this, and you tell the students how ridiculous your fear of the worms are, because fear is just the unknown. We don't know.
right,
And I use that example of, like, if you're afraid of the dark, and I say that to the kids, if you're afraid of the dark, when you turn the lights out, you don't know what's going to happen. That's why you're afraid. You don't know what's going to happen. That's why people are afraid of the worm bin, like, oh, what's going to happen? Are the worms going to get out, or what's going to happen? So I said to the teachers, like, and I said, the kids will manage the worms. You never have to touch the worms. There's always going to be a student who will do that part.
right. I love that. Oh my gosh. Everything about this is just so cool. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. And so I do want to talk about your other passion, which is your Chuckle Club.
Giggle, giggle, giggle. 2012, one more person said, ew, worms in the house. And I'd heard it, oh, probably thousands of times in the previous 10 years, hundreds for sure. And I wasn't listening. They say you should pay attention to what your clients want. They didn't want worms, but I didn't care. They needed them. So I kept going.
Right.
2012, I felt it. I heard it. I questioned everything. Amy, I was about to doff my important mission. Like, I don't know, universe. I don't know what to do. How do I, like, why are people still saying, ooh, don't they know that? Don't they know yet?
Yeah.
Um, and the very next day I was introduced to laughter yoga. Laughter yoga is not about doing yoga and laughing. It's laughing as an exercise. Laughing, it's a cardiovascular workout. So we're laughing, our diaphragm is attached to all of our organs. So when we're laughing, it forces us to inhale, because you can't just ha ha ha, you're exhaling. You have to go ha ha ha. Like, if anyone's had a good laugh with their friends, I hope you remember that.
Right.
Right? Your belly hurts, maybe you're crying, your cheeks are
Right.
hurting. Those are the laughter muscles. And so laughter yoga was started in 1995 by a medical doctor in India, Dr. Madan Kataria. His goal is world peace. And I believe that it was started in 1995 so we could be ready for 2020, when the world shut down.
Mm,
Prior to 2020, there was very few opportunities to laugh online. And now we can laugh 24/7. There are laughter clubs in over 120 countries. North America is a late adopter, right? Like, yoga's kind of just arriving. So laughter yoga is still in the ocean. And so there's little games. It's not jokes or comedy, like the laughter teacher's not up there telling jokes, because that wouldn't be funny for everybody.
right.
Like two people going somewhere, that's not funny for those two people, probably. We're
Right.
going to be laughing at them. So there's you're clapping. So, and I thought that the clapping was so bizarre when I first started.
Mm,
And so you're clapping palm to palm, and the rhythm is 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and the words are ho ho ha ha ha.
okay.
And that gets you primed. So and it's I think it's really geared for the people that are really in their head. They're so serious. It gives them something to do. Like now they can be like, ho, ho, and not be thinking, oh my gosh, why am I laughing? What am I like? That voice in your head. So this primes you, ho, ho, ha, ha, ha. And everyone's doing it, either online or in person, which is in person is you just feel the energy more, but it really works beautifully on Zoom.
Mm.
And so you're going ho ho ha ha ha, and then your brain says, "Oh, I must be happy." Right? It's happy time. And you start secreting the love drugs, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins versus cortisol and adrenaline, the stress hormones. And we are living in a perpetual state of stress today. It's not healthy.
Right.
It's not helping us, not a bit. Like we need a little bit of stress to get us off our butt, but not the amount that we have today. And the stress center in the brain, the amygdala, has not evolved since prehistoric times. We
Mm.
needed to know before that we were in imminent danger, that we were going to die. We needed to know so we could get out of there.
Right.
Now, when we go into stress, our body still has that same reaction from prehistoric times. So our body goes into fight, flight, or freeze.
Right.
Everything, not everything, but blood, lymph, oxygen leaves our frontal lobe and we go into our back brain, our reptilian brain,
Mm.
where we're just reacting. We're just like if anyone's listening and you've had a fight with someone and you're shouting, rah, and then at a certain point you think, oh my, I can't even think clearly. Like I'm just like so mad. And that's the truth. That's the truth. You can't think clearly because your frontal lobe has been disconnected.
Oh.
Right? So we're secreting all those hormones. We're not breathing. And I think the most important part of laughter, there's many, but is the oxygen. When we're stressed, we're not breathing properly. Our body's not getting what it needs. For sure, our brain isn't.
Right.
And our brain requires 25% more oxygen than the rest of our body.
Mm.
It's a machine, right? It's running the whole system here. So when we go into stress, like I'll ask if anyone's ever lost their keys, phone, glasses, right? And you're flapping around, you're like, I gotta go. Where are my keys? Come on, I'm gonna be late, which makes you more stressed because you're flapping around, you're not breathing, you're like, no. If we lose our keys or miss the bus, oh, it's a nuisance. It's annoying for sure. I'm not saying it's a walk in the park. It's not.
Mhm.
It's annoying, but it's not life threatening.
Right.
We're not going to die if we miss the bus, probably. But our body acts as if. So we can trick ourselves. This is like our body doesn't know the difference between real and simulated laughter. So we can start laughing, ha 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 ha. Our brain might be thinking, oh my gosh, what is going on here? Why are you laughing? Where our body's going, pew, 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 all the love drugs. And now we're oxygenated. So we can come up with better solution.
Mhm.
Automatically, like when we're stressed, we're not breathing. So we can't come up with solution. Our brain knows where the keys are, but it can't tell you because it's literally being deprived of oxygen.
Wow.
So the laughter, oh, Amy, thank you. I'm so happy to talk about this because I really want people to care about the planet. But when we're in a mental crisis, we can't we can't function properly ourselves, so we can't help anybody else, and we can't care about the planet. It's too much. So since 2020, I've taken a deep dive into so much time to think. I took a deep dive into the expression laughter is the best medicine. Like, what does it mean? And is it a universal expression? It is.
Yeah.
It is. I haven't met one person yet who hasn't heard it, but we say these things.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, laughter is the best medicine. It's like, yes. So we need to do it.
Right.
Like people will say um, about meditation. Meditation is good for us. Deep breathing is good for us. A walk in the park is good. So we do those things, but we don't do it once. We don't go for a walk once and okay, good. I'm
Right.
check.
Must
I
be a
never have to
practice.
do that again for the rest of my life. I took a deep breath. That's good. I meditated once. No, come to a laughter club and plan to come like on a regular basis or find someone that you can laugh with. Not about something. It's laughter with love. Laughter without love is cold and cruel and unusual. It's it's and even the laughter itself when it's done from a mean heart sounds different. than when you come from love and you're just connecting, and it raises your vibration. It's just an energy. So when we're feeling frustrated, angry, scared, all of the things that the news, that the media, that our society has set us up for, the news comes on, it's rarely like the good news.
Right.
Oh, somebody helped an old lady with to her car with her groceries. Yay, top story, how wonderful. Like people would be like, click, who cares? Right? What do they say? If it leads or if it bleeds, it leads.
Mhm.
Um, in news. So I would say limit what you know, because we're going to hear what we need to hear about what's going on in the world. We don't need all the details.
Right.
What did you say at the beginning? Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yes.
It goes to all those images of war and all the people struggling. When you see that, it hurts our heart, even if we say, I don't care, or we
Right.
have this hard shield. It matters. It does matter.
Yeah. And we
Yeah.
also become so desensitized by the onslaught of all the negativity. And so, when someone, if someone helps a lady with her cart at the grocery store, you're like, that's not big. What's big? But it's true. I mean, I totally feel that. We at the beginning of COVID, I was like, I had to shut the news off because it was just everything was, there's a new person sick, the hospitals are full and people are dying and it's coming for you, it's getting closer, and like I was a mess. I was a mess. And so I just turned it off, and I don't pay attention to the news as much anymore because it whenever I look at it, it's like it's negative, 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 negative. And we just I get plenty of negative. Like I don't need I don't need more.
Stress is a habit. Stress is a habit. And I recently heard that. And now I'm like, oh, stress is a habit. What if we made joy our habit instead?
Right.
Because when we feel good, we do good. And we want to help, but we want to be helpful. And then we feel good that we've helped somebody else. And that's what I would say if somebody's listening and they're like, oh, sure, look at you, it seems fine. I recently heard if you have a big pain, then you need a bigger reason for help, like a bigger goal to help somebody else or do something that's bigger than your pain, because then your pain will disappear.
Right.
Like if you're short of money,
Mhm.
give money away to somebody that needs more money than you do.
Mhm.
And it's like, what? How do I do that? Well, you only have a dollar. Give a dollar away to somebody, and it comes back.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be money. If you're lonely, there's lots of lonely people. Go meet somebody.
Yes.
Go meet somebody. And it sounds so simple, but these things are going to get us out of ourself. Because when and back to 2020, we were alone, we were isolated. How do you torture people? You keep them on their own.
Right.
Even when you're in prison, you don't want to be in solitary confinement,
Right.
right? We are community people. We need people. So, yeah, I think by the laughter it's such a beautiful gift because it just changes everything. And I now, the more I laugh, I've been laughing since 2012, really, really laughing since 2020. And it's my daily habit now. I don't go a day without having a good belly laugh. I have a laughter buddy. She calls me every morning at 7:30. I'm a morning person, so if people are like 7:30, no way. Whatever time works for you. I'm a morning person, so she calls me at 7:30. We're not even in the same time zone. I don't answer hello. I just start laughing, huh? Because I know it's her. We laugh for 2 minutes full on, no talking, 1 minute of deep diaphragmatic breathing, and then 2 minutes of additional laughter. 5 minute practice. So my body is fully oxygenated. I've got all the love drugs creating. I'm like, world, what do you got for me? I'm ready.
Right.
Sometimes I wake up and I'm maybe feeling like, dragging my butt around. I'm not sure how today's going to go. As soon as I've had my 5 minute practice, it changes everything.
Wow. Yeah, you must feel so much more ready for the day, and like, especially if it's first thing, you're like, like you're saying, like, I'm oxygenated, I'm feeling good, it just brings that light. And you were saying it changes your vibration, and that's a great place to start the day for sure. Wow.
Yeah, we're in charge of our own pharma. So either we're secreting the stress hormones or we're secreting the love drugs.
Mm.
Like either. We're not doing both. We can't be in parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems at the same time. They have different functions. One is to keep us kind of safe, like for the stress part. And I recently also heard that our body uses 80 to 90% of our energy digesting. So if we're in stress, we've had a fight with somebody, and sometimes people stress eat, but nothing's going in our body. So when we're stress eating, our body is not digesting. So
Mm.
the stuff goes in and then it comes out, but we don't get the nutrients
Right.
because our body is in stress.
Mm.
So I would suggest not eating until you can go. Like if you have a fight with someone, go outside, get some air, go for a walk around the block. Remove yourself rather than engaging in more like, don't have a drink, don't do drugs. I mean, not don't do those things, but not when you're under stress,
Right.
because that's just a band-aid. That's, maybe go have a good laugh. You could have gibberish argument, like where you're like, and then you'll start laughing, and then you can deal with the situation, whatever it is.
Right. Oh my
You
God.
know, yeah, like there's simple techniques. We haven't been taught all these beautiful gifts on how to heal ourselves, because I mean, not to be any kind of theorist, but our world, at least in North America, is driven by big pharma, big agra, the big, I think there's like 5 companies
Mm-hmm.
that are in charge of the chemicals that get sprayed, and then they're in charge of the chemicals that we take when we get sick from
Right.
their crappy food.
Right.
um, Without mentioning any names, at schools they have breakfast programs, and I know you need to have food, but those are food like substances. Like that's not real food, but they get all kinds of street cred because they're donating all this
Mhm.
food,
Right.
food like substance, and not to get into the politics of all of that, but if every school had a garden, if everyone was growing a little bit of food, then we would just get more connected to our food.
Mhm.
And I did hear something very alarming. The Food Revolution Summit was just on with Ocean and John
Okay. Yep.
Robbins. Yeah. Um, and they talked about the milk program in the States. And I'm still horrified that in the States, in public schools, the dairy milk has to be given for the breakfast program and lunch program. They can't promote drinking water on posters. It
Mm.
has to be only dairy milk. That's what they said in the summit. I mean, I can't imagine, because they have a
Toddlers.
big
Yeah.
platform, that they would say it if it wasn't true.
Right.
But like, I never questioned it before, but they said, why does dairy have its own category on the food guide? Because the dairy lobby is so strong.
Mm.
And they're injecting all the cows, the factory farming, with
Hormone.
hormones,
Right.
and with what do you call it? When you get antibiotics, and it's like, just to prevent anything. But that doesn't mean that every cow needs to have that. But that means the antibiotics are in the milk and in the meat that we're eating. So we're getting that stuff, and antibiotics kill everything. They're not just like, oh, there's that bad bug that we're trying to get. Same
Right.
with the chemicals that are being sprayed.
Right.
And that, I mean, it sounds heavy at the end. That's why laughter is really essential, because I have this heavy mission of helping people understand what's happening, because we're so busy, we don't have time to learn everything. And it's like, oh, milk is good. We were told that we should drink milk for our bones during that summit. And I didn't know this, but humans are born with a lactase. So we have this enzyme to digest cow's milk or milk
Okay.
while we're infants. And
Mm-hmm.
then we don't have it anymore.
Oh.
In North America and parts of Europe, we've developed a different enzyme. So some kind of Caucasian people can still drink dairy milk and eat cheese and stuff. Africans, Asians, and indigenous people do not have this enzyme. So almost that whole population is lactose intolerant. So what does that mean? That means they get a pill.
Mhm.
because they're still, and I mean, I
Still
don't,
encouraged
this,
to drink the milk.
this was alarming, and I don't know if this is true, but they said in schools, if parents don't want their children to participate in the dairy milk program, they need a doctor's note that says that the child has a disability. Like,
Oh,
oh, now they're branded with a disability. How does that feel as a little child?
right. Oh, man.
I'm still reeling from that. I still need to figure out what can I do here? I don't know how to battle the dairy industry, but we just need to be aware. I think just awareness is the important piece.
Mhm. Ooh, wow.
Oof. Phew.
Um, yeah, but so I just wanna back up a little bit and just add a little, so you were talking about, oh, you were saying if you were fighting with someone to have some sort of like gibberish fight, yeah, like conversation just to like lighten it up and stuff. I have a friend and her husband have a podcast, and it's called Our Friendly World Pod, Fawn and Matt. It's great. Whenever they talk about being friendly with people and creating community with the people around you, and they also, my favorite thing, I mean, I love everything about it, but then they're a couple, and so they'll like bicker at each other every time, or like talk
Mm,
to each other. And when one person starts to get annoyed, they like lighten it up and they say, "Love is winning." Like that's like their code word. Like love
mm,
is winning, and then they're like, "Oh," and just like get out of it, just let it go.
mm.
Which I love that because it's a regular practice for them. It like we don't all have that code word. Um, but I just wanted to add that in because I love him. I love them. That's great. And I'm gonna try to hook you up with them because I think that they would love you.
Oh, thank you. I would love that.
But so and so Kathy's Chuckle Club is available by Zoom, or if you're in the Toronto area, and it's available for free, you said, on Tuesday mornings.
Yes, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. 30 minutes of super fun self-care, free for everybody. All are welcome. I incorporate tapping, brain gym, qigong, just to help people get out of stress and into joy.
Mm,
I just want people to feel good.
that sounds so good. That sounds so like shoot, it's so needed.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah, come experience the magic of laughing for the health of it.
For the health of it. I love it. Kathy is right full of all the little puns. It's great. So, Kathy, when I say the word sustainability to you, what does that mean to you?
Sustainability to me is taking just what I need and utilizing all of it and not wasting, just kind of doing my part um to keep it going. I mean, whatever it is. I mean, just to, yeah, just being gentle to the planet, to myself. Like sustainability is about also cherishing myself and honoring who I am,
Mm,
all my flaws and all my gifts, all of it. This is me. And we're all unique. That's the beautiful part, is we are all different. We need to stop comparing so that we can come together and share our differences.
right. Oh my gosh, I love that. I mean, and two-sided. I love that. I there's a podcaster that I used to listen to, and she would talk about she would just encourage people to uh to to share their gifts because to have us all be to imagine us all as a puzzle piece, and that the puzzle is not complete if we are not sharing our gifts. And so I love that how you're saying to appreciate all of your gifts and to also acknowledge any shortcomings, but to not see them as that so much as part of your gift. So that's beautiful. And then, and Kathy, how can people find you and follow you? And where is the Chuckle Club?
Yeah, so it's so if you go to kathysclub.com is my laughter page, there's information right at the top on how to join the free club.
Super,
Yeah, and my worms page is kathyscomposters.com, and they're all connected, so you can just go to one and find the others.
So if we were to go to your website, can you get connected to the worm
Yes,
site as well? Okay, so everything is on your website, which is kathysclub.com.
that's correct. Yes.
Okay. And but you are on all the places. You're on YouTube?
I'm on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter are my main places.
Okay, excellent. Very good. Thank you so much. This has been just so valuable, especially to do this on a Sunday. And you were saying this is World Laughter Day.
Yes, the first Sunday of May every year is World Laughter Day.
Beautiful. What a great way to start the day. Goodness gracious. But thank you so much for sharing all of this. This is so, I love I love the worms part, but the laughter part was just so educational. And I just find so much value from that. And I really need to try to get off of work for a Chuckle Club.
Maybe you could bring the work.
I was just gonna say, maybe I should
Yeah,
invite my coworkers and say, let's just take a break together.
right? Oh, you will be glad you did. I've had schools come. I had the University of Maryland come, the what was it called? Human Geography Department.
Cool.
Right? So the professor came one week, and then she asked if she could bring her PhD and master's students. There wasn't many because it's 9:30. So, and I don't know what if Maryland's on the same time zone, but there
Yeah.
wasn't many students. And I said for the ones that were there, like, make sure that you share this with your other students because this is a beautiful way for, especially human geography is, anyway, yes, I get long-term care. I have special needs groups that come. I get about 20 or 25 people each week, and I have countries around the world that come. So
That's
some people come every week, and some come once and never come again, or they come when they can. There's no pressure. I don't follow up. I don't. So sign up and come.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, Cathy, this has been so valuable. I appreciate it so much, and I'm so thrilled to get to know you a little bit and connect. But I will, yeah, you guys check out the Chuckle Club and reach out to Cathy if you need any help setting up a worm bin because we should all have one. There's no reason not to.
Thank you, Amy.